come back to this room and sit on the places that you've been sitting this morning, and please keep the social distancing in 1.5 meters as the UN protocol has mentioned, the housekeeping announcement that I made this morning. After this, no? Invite. To speaker. You know, ก็อาจจะมีกลุ่มโฟโต้กับอาจารย์แล้วก็สปีกเกอร์ So after participants who left for the break has arrived, please be seated according to the places that you sit this morning, and please not remove or move any things from here. And during the Q&A sessions, you can use this disposable microphone cover after all the scholars have made their presentations and discussions. So I think I will turn over this stage to Ms. Meena to continue the session. Thank you.
Welcome back to our panel discussion on the topic of mindfulness practice in the time of crisis. And now let's move to the presentation from our last scholar, Associate Professor Dr. Venerable W. Piyarathana from Faculty of Buddhism, Mahachulalongkorn Rachavidyalaya.
So good morning all the venerables and distinguished scholars and my dear friends in the Dhamma. So it is my great pleasure to be here and to share some ideas related to this theme, mindfulness practice in the time of crisis. I think it is very timely topic to be discussed as the human beings are facing various crises more than ever before in the history. So I think that the organizers, they have taken very great step to bring out this type of topic and issue to discuss and find at least some solution to overcome these crises. So mindfulness in another sense, insight meditation In Pali, we call SATI for the mindfulness, and insight meditation, that is Vipassana. So these terms very often, we can find within the scriptures. So if you refer to the discourse of four foundation of mindfulness, it is related to contemplation on body, contemplation on feeling, contemplation on mind, contemplation on Dhamma. So this last chapter, that is contemplation on Dhamma, it is consisted several factors. Just now our professor Bang Chonil mentioned that three universal characteristics that we could pay attention or to be mindfulness. So that is also included in last conclusion, that is contemplation on Dhamma. So here basic, as we know that when we talk about insight meditation, that is consisted of these four contemplation. So the mindfulness in terms of Buddhism, it is discussing about these basically these four contemplation. So in another sense, like when they translate the term Satipatthana, so it is also mentioned that the foundation of the mindfulness. So that is very essential to concern. It is the foundation of mindfulness. So that means there are many things to be built up on this foundation. So that is a term which related to Buddhist teaching of mindfulness. So when we talk about the crisis, that we can actually divide it into two older crises. So crisis created by the nature and crisis created by the mankind. So when we talk about the crisis or some crisis facing the mankind today, we can conclude like the global warming, climate change, competition among the world powers, arms or race, productions of dangerous chemicals or the etc., diseases, natural and man-made, energy crisis, poverty, food shortage, drinking water shortage, deforestation, pollution, natural disaster, earthquake, earth slips, floods, and also volcanoes. So these are, but among these crises, that is one of the most serious crises that the human being were facing and still are facing. That is the COVID-19. So specialty of this pandemic is that it challenged human beings in many different ways. As you know, that it started as corona, and then COVID-19, and Delta Plus, Micron, Delta Micron. I recently heard from the WHO, it is having new variety of COVID-19, so which is very serious. So this is the crisis that we are facing in modern day. So what human beings experience that. So these are the crises that society poses to other people for a variety of reasons, and some are the crises that some are the crises that nature poses to the human beings as a result of human activities. Some of above crises, such as climate change, environmental disasters, floods, landslides, droughts, and global warming. So you know that these things, some they considered as the natural disaster. But in closer and deeper infections, we feel that they are also the result of certain arbitrary and long-term human activities of human beings. We can give different definitions or the interpretation, but somehow, as the human activities, also we are facing various natural disasters. So, so what happened during the COVID pandemic, that the world order has changed completely after the COVID-19 and has affected every life and the environment of the earth. Lots of people have lost their loved ones, and children have lost parent and vice versa. So lifestyle change, and most could not accept the sudden change, which resulted in nervous breakdown, loneliness, loss of hope, unable to bear the loss of in the families, loss in jobs, rise in cost of living, which is above the earning, and food scarcity, and the loss of hope and faith in their religions. Isolation, contact restrictions, and economic shutdown impose a complete change to psycho-social environment in affected countries. So somehow we experienced that at the beginning, like some countries, they were very proud to claim that they have overcome the COVID pandemic. But right after, even like maybe 1 or 2 months, they have to withdraw. They are claiming, and they started to fight against the COVID-19. So that is the seriousness of this issue. So it is that is the reason in the very beginning I mentioned that it is really time to discuss about mindfulness on contemporary crisis. And if we mindfulness, so this restriction given by word WHO, as we know that it is to aware of ourselves. If you can protect yourself, that the same time you are protecting others. This is very essential teaching from the Buddha's period, that Buddha mentioned that one who protects oneself, one who protects himself, he protects others. In Pali we call Attanang Rakkanto Parang Rakkati. So, so what is happening due to a crisis human being experiences various mental illnesses such as like stress, anxiety, depression, various disorders. There are 10 types of different disorders, mental disorders, just like a personality disorder, panic disorder, and bipolar disorders, or etc. And psychosis is one of the most problems or the issues facing human beings when they face with different type of crisis. So these are some only like few issues or the illnesses that a human being facing due to crisis. And also like when go back to the mindfulness practice. So it is very essential that Buddhism calls for the end of suffering. That is essential teaching. But in a matter of fact, Gautama Buddha teach many ways to get rid of all suffering and enlighten. The Buddhist teaching usually based on mindfulness in order to clearly see suffering in life. So if you very familiar quotation, as we all know that in Satipatthana Sutta, so here you can see the translation. This is the only way, O bhikkhus, for the purification of being, for extinguishing of suffering and displeasure, for attainment of knowledge, and for realization of nibbana. So that is the four foundation of mindfulness. But forget about, the for attainment of knowledge and for realization of nibbana. But beside that, it is clearly mentioned in that suffering and displeasure, to overcome, to extinguishing of suffering and displeasure. So this is the benefit what we can experience through the mindfulness meditation in this very moment, in this very life. So dukkha domanassanang attangama. So dukkha domanassa, those are two terms related to physical suffering and also mental displeasure. So in this sutta, it is, even though it is a very long discourse, but in this quotation we can see the purpose of this very specific or the unique significance teaching related to mindfulness, and it is to overcome the contemporary issues just like suffering and displeasure. So those are related to in this very moment. So what mindfulness focusing on that, understanding a thing as it really is, if it is a single object, and also understanding the things as they really are. So there might be multiple objects. So this is the real purpose of mindfulness. So understanding a thing as it really is. So this is when we concern about these two concepts, they are very essential and very practicable. So most of the things that the crisis or the things or the issues that we are forgetting that what the real nature of the things as they really are. So one, we try to adopt or we try to implement to understand that in different way. So we have to recognize, we have to understand. So the real issue. So that is the reason why Buddha has presented to understand this, like when we talk about the Four Noble, to the cause of suffering and cessations of suffering, and how one can cease the suffering. So these the factors to understand the real. So when we concern about further that understanding things can be applied in many discourses where we can find, especially in Samyutta Nikaya. So it is talking about three factors that we have to pay attention. That is the dissatisfaction or satisfaction or dissatisfaction, advantages or the disadvantages. So if it is having such advantages, so taken as an object. So if it is really dangerous, harmful, so we have to escape it. So this is called asada adinava nisarana. So when we observe any object, when we sense or through our internal faculties, any external objects, so we have to concern about these three factors. So so what? So then in one quotation in Sutta Nipata, it mentioned that the purity, therefore a purity, one does not think in that purity is by means of what is seen, heard or thought. Not does he wish for purity by anything else. He is neither impassioned not dispassioned. So that the Buddhist teaching concerned with middle path, or in another sense also it is can claim as a mindfulness. So what happened, like most of the crisis that just now Professor mentioned, that when there are two football teams, when one experiences rejoicement within one team, that he against another. So this is what, when we attached, when we take any object as mine. So in terms of Buddhism, it is always emphasizes that to ignore what is I notion. It ignore as what is like myself, my, mine and myself. So any discourses we find in within, especially in the Samyutta Nikaya, it is talking everywhere. We can find this etang meta mama eso hamasmi eso me atta. So when we have such egoism, so we get into trouble, and also we are not only get into trouble by ourselves, but also we are taking others into the trouble and creating troubles to others. So this, in such sense, we can apply the teachings of mindfulness, as I mentioned earlier, that to understand the advantages or the disadvantages. So one discourse, the Buddha mentioned that is especially like such Vitaka Santana Sutta. So if it is any thought, any thinking which is damage, harmful to oneself, just ignore it and not to follow that thought and replace something else. So we will come for some points. And also, like when we talk about the mindfulness, as we aware that it is about concern with the present moment. So in such discourses like in Satipatthana Sutta, just now I mentioned earlier, and it is talking about whatever our postures. So it can be walking, standing, sitting, sleeping and sleepless. So these are 5 postures, very general, very common. So we have to be aware, and also the mindfulness in those postures. So that means whatever position, so the whatever activities we are doing, we have to concern about the result of such activities. So in many occasions, or the many discourses, the Buddha was advising his disciples, especially like in Dhammapada, it is saying like yanche hitancha saduncha tangve paramadukkaran. So what is beneficial to oneself and also the beneficial to others, but it really hard to practice. But even though it is really hard, but still we have to keep trying. I'm when we talk about Emperor Asoka, as we know that, he was establishing what's called pillars, scriptures, inscriptions everywhere to make society such a good place where the people can live with the happiness. And then unfortunately, like when he passed, the time passed, that he felt that even though he has given such advices and built up such inscriptions everywhere, that people still, they are struggling, fighting. So then one inscription, he said that it is really hard to do something good in what is called in Prakrit language, it is called Kayane Kate Dukale. So this is what he understood. So that is Emperor Asoka. So nothing to talk about like human beings like us. So then that's the reason, like the first advice, like first what we have to pay attention, that mindfulness is concerned with the present moment. So it is like by staying in the present moment to the most extreme degree of the degree possible, as much as possible. So then so it consists of observing body and mind with bare attention. So this mindfulness, always like when you go through the discourses, you can see that the mindfulness appearing with another word, sampajanya, sati, sampajanya. Always like they are coming together. Sati here, the mindfulness, and sampajanya means the awareness. So we need both sati and the mindfulness and awareness. So what awareness is? So this awareness means what we are passing through, what we are facing through. So those things that we have to pay attention, and we have to go through that present moment. So here we can see that the Buddha discovered that the cause of suffering can be erased when we see our true nature. So that is personally he himself experienced that. So Buddha didn't follow any in one occasions, like King Milinda was asking that why you claim that you had no any teacher, since you follow other teachers like Kalara Kalama Uddakara and Putta. So why you claim that Buddha said that he had no teacher? Of course he had teacher before, but once when he was realizing the true nature of the Four Noble Truth, that he didn't have such teacher, so then he claimed that he has no teacher. So here you can see that, I mean, in such concept, when he understood the cause of suffering, and also it can be seized by seeing true nature of oneself and also true nature of the things. So it means that our happiness does not depend on manipulating the external world. So since this is very essential, or the significance teaching which concern that to brings the happiness to oneself and also to the others. So it is so when we go through the conclusion, what it is with the mindfulness is the ultimate conformity with reality. So it is to understand what the real nature and what the real things. So very nice quotations we can find within Jata Sutta of Sangyutta Nikaya, Devata Sangyutta, and also that stanza appears in Jata Sutta whenever Buddhaghosa took advantages to compose entire Visuddhimagga, as you know that. So here you can see that the Buddha's path to deliverance or Nibbana was not mean only for religious purpose. His path serves for finding solution to the problems in the day-to-day life as well. So here the gods approach, one of the certain gods approached the Buddha, and he was asking that the inner tangle and the outer tangle, this generation is entangled, intertangled. And so I asked of Gautama this question: who succeeds in disentangling this tangle? So here tangle can brings a different meaning. So in Pali, it is called jata. In another sense, we can use the term jata means the conflict. We are having a conflict within ourselves. So that is called internal conflict. And we are also having conflict because of various reasons with others, that is called external conflict. So we are having internal and external conflict. So how one can overcome these conflict within oneself and others? So in the advice Buddha has given, that when a wise man established well in virtue, develop consciousness and understanding, then as a bhikkhu, ardent and sagacious, he succeeds in disentangling this tangle. So one can overcome all conflict when you apply virtuous sila or the morality. That is actually the restraining of doing any harmful action. When one restrain, so that means he protects others. And the concentration is the insight or wisdom. So as we know that these are the threefold training or sila, samadhi, panya. So here you can see that applications of mindfulness. It is not just attaining nibbana, but beside that, there are many advantages one can attain, one can achieve by applying mindfulness. So here, one occasions that in the Sakkapanya Sutta, the discourse of the Sakka, questions of the Sakka, he was asking that people are willing to live with the happiness, but there is no happiness. It is because of mentality. We are entangled with such mentality like jealousy and awareness. So when these two things are in the mind, the people, even though it's still like, we can experience what Buddha said, like even the children, they are fighting with the parents, and parents are fighting with the children. So in society, we can experience that. So in that sense, Buddha said, like, understanding the things or those the conflict, or what are the cause of conflict, that will be very helpful. So we are talking about the contemporary crisis and how we can apply about these teaching of related to mindfulness into overcome this conflict. When Venerable Buddha Ghosa, he took advantages of this stanza and he composed Visuddhimagga, such a big, huge text. So you can see that when he talks about the virtues, it is not just the sense of restraining oneself. So when one restrained, when one concerns about his all restraint activities, that automatically he is serving, protecting others. It is very necessary that Buddha even concerned about not only the human being, but all the entire beings in the world. When Buddha said that Sabbe Satta Bhavantu Sukhitata, it is consistent, entire beings in the world. So this compassion or the loving kindness, that is the part of mindfulness meditation, and it is not focusing on one single beings, but entire beings in the world. So it is so having regular practice of mindfulness can benefit those with about mental illnesses. So in Sabbasava Sutta, in another occasion, like asava means here can be translated in many ways, but I refer to the translation given by the Venerable Thanissaro. But beside that, actually asava can be the mental intoxications and cankers or tenants. So many different translations. So the monks, the ending of fermentation is for the one who knows and sees. So this is mindfulness. Appropriate attention. When a monk attend appropriately, unarisen formations do not arise, and arisen formations are abundant. There are fermentation to be abundant by seeing, restraining, avoiding, dispelling, developing. So these are the practices one can apply in order to understand whenever there is any conflict within oneself, and to understand the nature of that conflict and to abandon that conflict. So here last is the developing. So that is related to bhavana. Bhavana pahasabba. So bhavana is in another sense development of the mind. And then Okay, like this is related to what I want to conclude. So then it can be like mindfulness meditation has been found to be somehow successful in treating people with psychosis such as borderline personality disorder and schizophrenia. And mindfulness meditation has also been shown to have real effect on structure of the brain and thickening of the cortex, etc. So certain bodily sicknesses are developed through frustrations of the body, and frustration occurs through the effort the body makes to satisfy the body, but because of certain barriers, the body cannot get the satisfactions required, which result in frustration. So under such circumstances, the modern world is now looking to the practice of Buddhist meditation to overcome these problems and to have a clear and light mind. So that is my conclusion. So thank you very much once again for giving this opportunity, and hopefully if you have any questions, so we will have such opportunity to discuss further.
Thank you very much, Venerable Piyarathana, for reminding us that a lot of crises are actually the consequences of human actions, and that happiness is not about external world, and suffering can be erased when we really see our true nature through practicing enough of mindfulness. And now we are arriving at the discussion and Q&A session. And now we have about 15 minutes. So anyone who has questions, feel free to open your microphone, introducing yourself a little bit before asking the question. Also, the audience who are watching this session virtually can type the question in the chat as well. So I will start with the first question. I see that all of the scholars here in this session talk about how we shouldn't treat mindfulness as just an event, but to adopt it in everyday life and in every moment. So the question is how we can practically immerse mindfulness in every activities, and how can all of life become a meditation? And can Professor Dr. Frank answer first, please?
Well, okay, I don't have any privileged access to ultimate truth on this, and I think whatever we say is provisional. It's our own point of view. So I speak from my experience only. I think that there are little stages or little degrees of mindfulness. If you do, as I do, mindfulness meditation in the morning, you have at least some time in your routine where you're trying to do this completely. Now, some days it's better than other days. So even in meditation itself, nothing is perfect. You know, you might have some reverie, could have been, would have been, should have been, taking you away from the moment. Or you might have some hope or some fear taking you away from the moment. But eventually your mind comes back to the present moment. So what would it be like if we would increase the degree? In other words, I don't think this is an all or none thing, mindful or not mindful, even within meditation. So it's a matter of calling your mind back to its job, calling your mind back to mindfulness. To the extent, to the degree that you can do that, then all of your life becomes a meditation.
Thank you very much. And Professor Dr. Wang Xunil, how can we be mindful, like when we mind a step before taking on the trend?
The mindfulness should be with me in every moment of my life. And also I said to you, I show you the photo of Hong Kong, and then please mind the gap, there. But it is not easy, but I try from my Vipassana teacher. He always said to me that please live here and now without attaching to your future, not attaching to your past. He always said to me, but not easy. But similar thing actually happened when Zen meditation become very popular in China. So during the Song Dynasty, around the 1100 Common Era, and Da Hui Zhongguo appeared, and he developed new kind of meditation called the Ganhua Sun, or it is called asking some paradoxical question in every day of your life. So one of the most famous question in South Korea we Zen Buddhists usually do is called the imoko, means what it is. So in your life, in every moment of your life, you should have a question. What is it? Keep doing that, then developing a questioning mind inside of you, and it will eventually explode. Then you will get the peace of your mind. So not just a Southern Buddhist meditation, but also the East Asian meditation as well, trying to have a kind of a meditative insight in every moment of our life. But for me, even though I try, but meditation is very difficult for me to do that. So I try every day my life, but not easy for me. So I'm not the good person to answer this question.
Thank you. And I will definitely practice developing the questioning mind myself. And Professor Dr. Piyarathana, how can we be at the extreme level of mindfulness in our daily life?
So I agree with Professor that passing whatever position or whatever movement we are passing through, we have to act, we have to keep or act according to the mindfulness, so that
Recording in
coincidentally,
progress.
we touch our face with touching someone who is having the COVID effect. So to pass this critical situation, so always it is to our term like to pay much attention. The teachings of the Buddha very applicable to protect oneself in such a COVID pandemic, right? So then the same can apply for another like such level of the mind, even the anger or anything that can be controlled. such sense.
I listened to your presentation, Dr. Piyarathana, and seeing a lot of benefits of mindfulness to mental health and also physical health as well. Can you elaborate more of the effect and how can we apply mindfulness to deal with physical illnesses in practical way?
Yeah, that is actually like nowadays, you know, that many people suffer with many physical illnesses because of like diabetics, heart attacks, and cholesterol, and those things. What we can do with mindfulness to maintain such illnesses? So we can see that most of disease comes due to imbalanced moderations of the food. So that remind us mindfulness in another sense to apply like moderating whatever actions like even eating, drinking, and whatsoever that to be moderated to maintain it properly. This properly maintaining can be done only through the awareness or the mindfulness. So that one case that we can see. And another sense, like I would like to pay attention. You remember like 2, 3, maybe 4 years. I'm not sure that some students, 13 students, they lost in a cave in Chiang Mai or some area in a rural area, and they didn't have enough food, so anything like almost 10 days or more than 1 week. So when they came out from the cave, that they were question is like how you could survive without any food such a long period of the time. So the answer was that their coach, the teacher who was teaching football, he was the practitioners of insight meditation. So he let his students to practice insight meditation, to concentrate even such difficult situation. So then they said that they were survived because of this practice of meditation. So that is why even such critical situation, it might be some possibility to apply this mindfulness insight meditation in to overcome such a difficulty. So they were survived. And not only this, like when I came to study at Mahachala for the first time, there was one student in my class, and she was having cancer. And the doctor said that you probably die within the 5 months. And then she found to meet our meditation master, and he advised her to practice meditation. And even after 5 years, I met her. But doctor said, your life remain only for 5 months. But she started to practice insight meditation and doing moderating her daily activities according to such schedule based on meditation. So she could recover. And even as just now, even after 5 years, I met her. So then when we talk about like that is very, and another interesting point that she was a Christian, and but I mean she didn't change the religion, but still apply practicing inside meditation. So that is what I mentioned. Physical illnesses also we have opportunity to apply this mindfulness meditation.
Thank you very much. And Professor Dr. Huang Xiu, do you have any experience to share about the effect of mindfulness in mental physical?
So while I'm listening the answer from the assistant professor and also Dr. Frank Hoffman, I just remember, whenever I try to live in a present moment, not attached to the past, not attached to the future, I usually try not to have a very high expectation. The hope is a good thing we should follow, but we are attached to the hope. The hope will destroy us. The hope only exists in the future, not in our present moment. So in Indian, people usually say golden ages is only in the past time. Your current time is the real golden age of your own life. So if we have an expectation, high expectation, we are eager to achieve it. When we try eager to achieve it, then we are attached to it. Then eventually, if we can't make it, we are in trouble. But if we are living with a very little expectation, it doesn't mean kind of a method of living not to have any hope, but with a little expectation, then we are not attached to some kind of a high hope. Then just the little things occur to us, then we become very happy. So I think this is one of the way we can actually live in the present moment. For example, when I go to the restaurant, one of my friends usually checking SNS and Facebook and Instagram, and he had a high hope and big expectation. But his best moment was before entering into the restaurant, because he has a big expectation. But once enter inside there, everything different from the photo, and the taste of food can match with his high hope or high expectation. So one of the way we Buddhists can practice in our daily life might be living with a little low or little expectation, and become happy whenever something happening. We become happy. So I think this is one of the way we can apply this mindful practice method in our ordinary daily life.
Just like someone say, happiness equal expectation minus reality. Dr. Frank, do you have anything to share?
Sure. I'd like to attach to this discussion a reflection of the Buddhas in the first instant, and that reflection is death can come at any time. So I'd like to attach it in two ways. One, there was a discussion by the Venerable about we are enjoying observing the arising of a phenomenon, but we don't enjoy if it's something good, and the ceasing of the phenomenon bothers us. So we only want to attach to the pleasant, okay? And then when I think about the idea of minimal hope, I think of the phrase of the Buddha, death can come at any time. And I think of Roshi Robert Aitken, a story about his life. He was a prisoner of war in Japan. According to this legend, they dug a hole for him and put a bamboo gate over the top. Every once in a while, guards would throw a scrap of food. Sometimes rats would come and eat part of it. But he was benefited by a man who threw him two books. One was about the poetry of Robert Blythe, and another was a Zazen training manual. He read the manual over and over, so the story goes. And he survived this incarceration by Zazen. So I thought, what would it be like to be him? A man with no hope. I connected to Doctor's comment about minimal hope. You have too many hopes. You're already lost in a cloud of reverie. So that's my attachment to the conversation. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. And now we have a few questions in the chat from our online participant. I will call the name and please open your microphone and ask our experts. So Kun Sok Lama, please open your microphone.
Hello, hello to everyone. And my question is, what thoughts or idea do we need to attach in mindfulness meditation that keep us from growing and making further progress?
So I'll repeat the question. What thoughts or ideas do we need to attach in mindfulness meditation that keep us from growing and making further progress?
So I just mentioned before one name of the discourse that Vitaka Santana Sutta. So in the sutta very clearly explained that if any thought, if you let to grow up, what will be the advantages or the disadvantages? What will happen? So if it is your anger, so the thought involved with the anger, if you let this anger to grow up, what damage can happen, or what harmful activities that you can make. So for that sense, like we have to think of such thoughts or the thinking that to clarify, so that the reasons why we are called like a human beings, to differentiate from other beings. So why we call as human beings, to clarify what is good from what is bad. So this clarification only can be done those who are having such mindfulness, right? Or otherwise we accept whatever thoughts come to in your mind, that we accept. So that we are given such opportunity to pay attention very carefully, that to accept only what is beneficial to oneself and also the beneficial to others. So in our saying, we have one parable, like folk saying, if you see such a poisonous snake, do not let that snake to run away, but immediately kill it. So we know that it is not the advice inside that sense. It is here poison snake to compare the anger. If you let anger to grow up, it will damage, it will destroy yourself, and also it will destroy others. So for that reason, so we have to clarify the thoughts or the thinking that arises within oneself. What thought is beneficial to oneself. So let grow up it. But this benefit to oneself means that it is damaging to others and only to beneficial to yourself. So that is not accepted. But for that reason, actually, we apply the mindfulness and also to clarify the thoughts. So usually the process of thoughts and explain in variously. But here in that particular sutta, like Vitaka Santana Sutta, it is to realize that, okay, that whether the thoughts is involved with hatred, lust, delusions. So that thought we have to ignore. Any thought involved with what's called generosity, non-hatred, and non-ignorance, then accept it and let it grow up. So there are several advices, and even that sutta is explaining that you are paying attention to control your bad thinking, bad thought by applying like your mental energy, but still you can't control. Then you apply your physical energy to control it. How to apply like a physical energy? You can, it is sutta is explaining like biting your own teeth. It is like somehow maybe painful to yourself, but it is not painful to you, another. So this is how we can control like thinking or the thoughts, various thoughts, to recognizing. So that for that sense we have perceptions or the observations. Many occasions Buddha was saying that that is what is really harmful to oneself. Don't try to do it for the others. So the clarifications of thoughts, so we have to apply. And what is good, let it to grow up, and what is bad, just ignore. That understanding we can make, actually, we know. But some people, of course, that is not depend on individual.
Thanks so much. Dr. Huang Shunyu, do you have anything to add? Okay, Dr. Frank?
Yes, I was thinking when the Venerable was speaking about likes and dislikes, and I want to connect this conversation I see about likes and dislikes to another translation of kodana, which is irritability. So if we have to guard our gateways, or ayatana, and keep the mind focused on immediate awareness without wanting anything, then an avoidance of likes and dislikes in the meditation satipatthana process is very important. If we don't take care of that, if we don't take care of our mind, we will easily slip into irritability. Oh, I like this. I don't like this. Oh, my chair is too hard. Oh, my chair is too soft. And then what? And then we find it difficult to get away from these likes and dislikes once they start. So it seems to me that that's the appendix on the conversation that I would add. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next question is from Kun Jyoti Kalhan Charman. Please open your microphone.
Yes. Thank you so much, and paying respect to all venerable professor and teachers. I want to ask about how mindfulness meditation can be applied for overcoming wrong views, micchaditti.
The question is how mindfulness can be applied for overcoming wrong views, like micchaditti.
นี่มีนาเป็น MC นี่ครับ
Can we...
Okay, Venerable, like in early scriptures, we can see that mindfulness, the wrong view, all the wrong views can be concluded into two as eternals and non-eternal, or eternalism and non-eternalism, or nihilism. So even though they are appearing in different terms under like 62 views, or wrong views, or something else, but we can conclude into two as eternalism and nihilism, or sasatavada, uchchedavada. So here you can see that the Buddha's, what Buddha has presented, but with ignoring those eternalism and nihilism. So Buddha himself we call pachatta vedittabha, so one who could understand or realize by own experience. So to this we can see how we can apply mindfulness to understand the nature of the view or the wrong view. So there are many occasions or the discourses we can see Buddha has given such advices. So most of the view, it is in somehow like what is called it based on like intellectuality or argument, right? So then in that sense, like when one apply mindfulness, of course that is the right mindfulness to understand the things as they really are. So in that sense, if you accept that the eternalism, what like or the nihilism, that if you believe that, oh, that is eternalism means like everything existed but forever. So then you never accept. You never think that, oh, whenever changes happen within yourself, that you don't accept, right? So, but for when you pay the mindfulness or to understand the real nature, then you will realize that, oh, I cannot claim it is as mine. There is one occasion, one Brahmin came to the Buddha and he was saying that I am in having the view of that 5 aggregates belongs to me. So then the Buddha was asking, if you say that the 5 aggregates belong to you, can you maintain your rupa, your form as you want? Of course I cannot. But in the morning time, it is my appearance like this, but in the evening it's not the same. So I cannot maintain my form. Then Buddha was asking again, like, how you could say that rupa belong to you? So that means it's not belong to you. I am having the view that it belongs to me. But if you really understand the true nature of the things, that you may feel that no, there is nothing to claim as mine, myself. So here, micchaditti, almost venerable, all the micchaditti, like Buddha was saying that whatever Michaditi that based on Asmimana. Asmimana means I notion, right? I notion. So if you can ignore that I notion, the way to ignore the I notion, that understanding the three characteristics, as Professor mentioned, that unsatisfactoriness or the suffering, and what's called impermanent suffering and non-self. So you build up wrong view because of understanding this like oh, it is happiness and permanent, belongs to me. So but if you only by applying like meditation or the mindfulness, you can overcome this I notion. So then can overcome the wrong view, most of the wrong view based on that I notion. So if you apply like understanding of the real nature of the things as they really are, so then that is the mindfulness. So that mindfulness help you, as I said, like building up what is the everything is permanent. So such people, when they build up like Uchedavad, that means like a nihilism. Oh, everything are subject to be vanished. So what you try to exercise, what you try to understand, oh, that before vanishing, I should enjoy it. So then I try really hard to satisfy myself within such short period of the time. It is impossible. So then for that reason, also again, when you apply the mindfulness, of course, that is the way to overcome these two views as known as Michaditi.
Very complete answer that mindfulness allow us to see our true nature, and with that we can erase the Michaditi. Do you have any thing to add in that regards, or you can share your own experience on how yourself erase the Michaditi?
So I just saw that question about how to cultivate Mahametta and Mahakaruna toward our enemy group like Putin with mindfulness. That's a good question, and I like it, and not easy to answer. But I have to say, Mahametta and Mahakaruna in Chinese, Deja Devi, the quality belongs to the Lord Buddha and Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva. So in the time of crisis, what we are living here in the modern days, I said we shouldn't have a big hope, but it is a kind of a big hope. We should develop it. But I can't think of anything other than Buddhist universal morality. When we think about other religions, Islam, Christians, their love and their kindness only goes to the neighbors within their own boundaries. But Buddhism, I have to say, could be the only religion in Asia where people talking about loving and kindness and compassion, not only within our own group, our own Buddhist, but also toward all other people. Not only other people, but also, the animals and insects and anything, living, anything, living beings, anything we have to say alive, we should have the same value, same, loving and kindness and compassion toward everything. So this is, high hope, but this could be the only way, to solve this kind of serious confrontation, as far as I'm concerned, and maybe you venerables can make some kind of way to develop, easily develop that kind of a mind of equanimity. I hope you can make some kind of a way to do that.
Dr. Frank, you can answer both the questions.
Yes, I have a follow-up. I have been reading a little bit about racial hatred and trying to understand its roots. And I was assisted by an article written by a Yogacara scholar who quoted a practice from Dalai Lama's training manual called Exchanging Self for Others. And it is this I'd like to add to the conversation. Most often, our animosity to the other side comes from our inability to see things as they see it, however one-sided that is. But if we could exchange oneself for others and try that practice within Buddhism, I think we prepare the groundwork for true understanding. I give you anecdote from my real life experience. As a boy, I grew up seeing over and over again the same quotation on television. Khrushchev at the United Nations, pounding his fist on the table and saying, "We will bury you." So this was the perception that Americans of my generation got about Russia, that they will kill us all. So as a college student, I had a chance to decide my language. And I decided to study Russian for 2 years, which was the requirement for undergraduates, with a view to understanding how Russians think through their literature, through their culture, to get beyond "we will bury you" and see what is the mind, the soul, the heart of Russian people like, not in a political way. But then I thought, the real politic comes down to survival. So I live in the mystery of this question, a little like my colleague, Dr. Huang. I don't have one way to solve this for sure, but I do think the practice of exchanging self for others, whether you're speaking about racial issues or international political issues, will set the stage for you to understand. Even if we get that far, it's pretty good. It's better than outright animosity. Thank you for the question.
Oh. And now we arrived at the end of the first panel discussion because we are going to run out of time. And thank you all of the scholars today for giving such a wonderful presentation and also the discussion. And we can see the benefits of mindfulness in every area that we can apply to. And now I would like to turn over the stage to Pramaha Asira Wachiranako, our MC.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Mina. On behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to appreciate all the scholars for sharing their valuable inputs to all our participants by sharing expertise and knowledge. I'm sure that our participants have learned various knowledge in the field of mindfulness by adding up your theoretical part concept. And I believe that this theoretical part can be applied into their daily lives and their education as well. So, and it was a very wonderful discussions for this morning, first panel discussion in this morning session. And we also had opportunities to listen to real life experiences from Professor Frank and also other scholars as well. So it was very wonderful. So now, without further ado, because we are running out of time, I would like to invite Assistant Professor Dr. Pramaha Sompong Kunakaro, Vice Director of IBSC, to share some thankful remarks and present our speakers, scholars with a token of appreciation and Dhamma gifts. Venerable Sir.
Okay. In the term of mindfulness, that's very necessary. That's why you can see the term, the guardian. So in the term of mindfulness, if we talk about mindfulness in the term of religion, especially Buddhism. So you can see the term sati. Whenever you talk about the state, definitely Buddhism. But mindful is the term in general regarding the religion. So you can see when you go to the airport, mind your step, mind your head. Yes. But the forum today about the mindful practice in the term of the crisis. So you know so many crises presently. How many crises you can see? Political crisis, deceit. So all's coming, you can see, you can observe that all's coming from the human being itself. Why? What happened? Because of the presence first emphasize on develop the matter more than the mind. I went to South Korea in Iksan. I went to the markets. I observed the board, some kind of the small notice. They said, mind over matter. So I turned to the second time to see that the banner. So that's very necessary that I'm going to say that if the people emphasize on mind, so we can solve the problem, any kind of the crisis, please, even the presently, whether the COVID-19 or whether the political crisis. That's because of we emphasize on the how to train the mind. So anyway, today is very necessary that we organize the mindful practice in the term of the crisis. So we have first from the speakers who share the theories and the experience. So, you know, sometimes the mindfulness, the theory not enough. The theory not enough. So after the theory, we should practice by ourselves. Then we will know that how many steps for that. So as I said that mindfulness is a term in general, it's not only the Buddhism. I went to participate also the international conference in South Korea also. One lady from New Zealand, she said, okay, I will demonstrate about how to practice mindfulness. They're totally different from Buddhism. But she said mindfulness. She practiced by checking the body and speak louder. She said this is the way to practice mindfulness. That means we have to be in the present moment. When you do something, then you know that what are you doing, that's the mindfulness. It doesn't matter that we have to practice strictly how many steps for that. So if the people say that mindfulness is we have to practice sitting, walking, so what's about the people walking? So that's why mindfulness in the term in the general meaning, that means we have to concentrate on the present moment, what we are doing presently. That's why today very necessary that the speaker share us about the experience, not only experience but the theory also. So on behalf of the organizer, the conference today, I would like to thank the Professor Wang Sunil from the College of Buddhism, Academic Affairs, Dongkuk University. The second, Professor Frank J. Hoffman from IBSC. And the third, Assistant Professor Piyarathana from Faculty of Buddhism. And also, I would like to thank all participants to take part for this function, and hopefully that after this function that we can take the theory to practice. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Assistant Professor Dr. Pramahasampong Kunakaro, Vice Director of IBSC, for giving the thankful remarks. Now I would like to invite Most Venerable to please be here in front of the stage to offer the token of appreciation or the Dhamma gifts to all our scholars. Nimon kap, Paja. Kanha le kap. I would like to invite Assistant Professor Dr. Venerable Piyarathana to receive the Dhamma gift from our Vice Director first. Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Next, I would like to invite Professor Dr. Wang Sunil to receive the Dhamma gift from our Vice Director as well.
Recording stopped.
Okay, thank you. And last but not least, I would like to invite Professor Frank Hoffman to receive the Dhamma gifts as well.
People who live.
Okay, so, and after this, I would like to invite all the participants, scholars here, to have a group photo together for this morning session. So once again, on behalf of the organizing committee, International Buddhist Studies College, I would like to thank all the scholars, participants, both on-site and online, for participating in this second World Mindfulness Forum. Okay, we'll have a group photo with the speakers only and Venerable Sir. Okay. So the group photo will be taken in the afternoon after completing the afternoon session. And I would like to also announce to all the participants that for the lunch break, it's organized, it's held in the ground floor. So we both have non-veg and veg foods in two lines. You can either take non-veg or veg in the ground floor. So it's a buffet, so you can. And thank you very much, Miss Meena Kitikunsari, the moderator for today's panel discussion in this morning. She has done a very extraordinary job in this morning as well. And also all the participants for coming here and listening to all our scholars. So thank you very much. And we will meet here in the same place again at around 12:40 or 12:50, because our afternoon program will start at 1 p.m., 13:00 hours of Thai local time here. So once again, I would like to announce to all of you that the luncheon has been organized. It's held at the ground floor, right? I think this is the second floor. You can go to the ground floor to have a lunch. And we have provided both non-vegetarian and vegetarian food for everyone. So for those who are vegetarian, you can take the vegetarian line. And for those who are non-veg, you can just take the non-veg line. So thank you very much once again, and all the participants online as well. And we will meet you again at 13:00 p.m. in Thailand's local time. Thank you very much.